Hello, fairy tales and bedtime stories. Today's story is Cinderella. Once upon a time, in a land far away, there lived a kind and gentle girl named Cinderella. She had the sweetest smile and the kindest heart, but after her mother's untimely death, her father remarried a woman with 2 daughters. Sadly, not long after, Cinderella's father passed away, leaving her in the care of her stepmother and stepsisters. "Oh, Cinderella, clean the floors," her stepmother would demand. Cinderella, always obedient, would get on her knees and scrub the floors till they shone, her own clothes becoming covered in ashes and dust. "Cinderella, do the laundry," her stepsisters would screech. They would give her piles of clothes, laughing as she washed and ironed late into the night. Despite her hardships, Cinderella never lost hope. She would often find solace in her small attic room, talking to the little birds that came to her window. "One day, things will get better," she would whisper to them, a small smile on her weary face. Each day, Cinderella would rise at dawn. She would cook breakfast for her stepfamily, often going hungry herself. Her stepsisters would mock her. "Look at her, dressed in rags, talking to birds. How ridiculous!" But Cinderella would just smile and continue her work. One evening, as she sat by the fireplace, a small mouse scurried in. With her usual kindness, Cinderella offered it some crumbs. "There you go, little friend," she said softly. The mouse squeaked happily, and soon more mice came, finding a friend in Cinderella. The days were long and tiring, but Cinderella never complained. She dreamt of a better life, a life where she was free and happy. But for now, she was stuck, obeying every command of her cruel stepmother and stepsisters. Her only comfort, the dreams she held in her heart. As she lay in her small bed each night, Cinderella would look out at the stars. "One day, my dreams will come true," she would whisper, her voice full of hope and longing. And so, amid the ashes and hardship, Cinderella's story began, a tale of resilience, kindness, and a hope that never died. In the depths of her despair, a glimmer of hope appeared for Cinderella. It was a day like any other, with Cinderella finishing her endless chores. That evening, a grand announcement echoed throughout the land. The king was hosting a royal ball, and every maiden was invited, in hopes of finding a bride for the prince. Cinderella's heart fluttered with excitement. "A ball? Oh, how I wish I could go," she sighed, her eyes filled with longing. Her stepmother sneered, "You? At the ball? Don't make me laugh. Get back to work." Crushed, Cinderella nodded and returned to her chores, the dream of the ball flickering in her heart. As the day of the ball approached, her stepsisters' demands grew. Cinderella stitched their gowns, curled their hair, and polished their shoes. Yet, she held on to a sliver of hope that maybe, just maybe, she could attend. On the night of the ball, her step-family dressed in their finest and left Cinderella behind. Alone and heartbroken, Cinderella wept in her tattered gown. But then, something magical happened. A gentle light filled the room, and there stood a kind, elderly woman. "Who are you?" Cinderella gasped. "I am your fairy godmother," she replied with a warm smile. "You shall go to the ball, but first we must prepare." With a wave of her wand, the fairy godmother transformed Cinderella's rags into a breathtaking gown. "Wow!" exclaimed Cinderella, admiring the beautiful dress. Next, the fairy godmother turned a pumpkin into a splendid carriage and mice into horses. Cinderella was amazed at the transformation. "Just remember, the magic will wear off at midnight," warned the fairy godmother. Cinderella nodded, her heart brimming with joy and gratitude. She stepped into the carriage, bound for the ball, her dreams turning into reality. As the carriage rode away, the fairy godmother watched, a knowing smile on her face. "Go, Cinderella, and live your dream," she whispered. And with that, Cinderella headed to the ball, a night of magic and miracles awaiting her. The grand royal palace shone under the moonlight, its halls bustling with excitement. Cinderella arrived in her magical carriage, her heart pounding with anticipation. Stepping out, she gazed in awe at the magnificence of the royal ball. As she entered the ballroom, every eye turned towards her. Who was this mysterious maiden, they wondered, so graceful and enchanting? Cinderella felt nervous, but also thrilled to be part of this magical night. Her stepsisters, draped in their lavish gowns, didn't recognize her. They gossiped among themselves. Who could that lady be? Surely someone of great importance. Cinderella smiled to herself, moving gracefully through the crowd. Then, the prince, handsome and regal, noticed her. Struck by her beauty, he approached and asked, "May I have this dance?" Cinderella, her heart skipping a beat, accepted. As they danced, the world seemed to fade away, leaving just the two of them. They danced through the night, lost in each other's eyes. Cinderella forgot all her sorrows, feeling like a true princess. The prince was captivated. Never had he met someone so mesmerizing. As the clock struck 11, Cinderella remembered the fairy godmother's warning. "I must go," she whispered, pulling away from the prince. "But why?" "Please stay," the prince pleaded, but she could not. Cinderella hurried away, her heart racing. In her haste, she lost one of her glass slippers on the palace steps. But there was no time to retrieve it. She had to leave before the magic wore off. The prince picked up the slipper, determined to find the mysterious maiden. Cinderella reached home just as the clock struck midnight. Her gown turned back into rags, but her heart was full of joy and memories of a magical night. Back in her attic, Cinderella cherished the moments at the ball. Little did she know that the lost slipper would change her life forever. And so, the night of the royal ball came to an end. A night filled with dance, dreams, and a love yet to be realized. The morning after the ball, the kingdom was abuzz with talk of the mysterious maiden. Cinderella, back in her rags, listened to her stepsisters chatter excitedly about the night. "They say the prince is smitten. He's going to find her, the one who fits the glass slipper," they exclaimed. Cinderella's heart fluttered at the thought, but she kept her secret hidden. Meanwhile, the prince, holding the delicate glass slipper, declared a search throughout the kingdom. "Every maiden shall try on this slipper. The one it fits shall be my bride," he proclaimed. The news spread like wildfire, and soon the prince's heralds were at Cinderella's door. Her stepmother, eager for her daughters to try the slipper, locked Cinderella in her room. "One of you must fit into this slipper," she insisted, as her daughters struggled to squeeze their feet in. The slipper would fit neither of the stepsisters, much to their mother's frustration. As the royal party prepared to leave, Cinderella's voice called out, "Please, may I try the slipper?" Her stepmother scoffed, "You! Don't be absurd!" But the prince's herald insisted, "Every maiden must try." Cinderella was released from her room, and she approached the slipper with a calm grace. The room fell silent as the slipper slid perfectly onto her foot. A perfect fit. The prince, who had accompanied his heralds, recognized her instantly. "It's you," he exclaimed. "The maiden from the ball." Her stepmother and stepsisters were aghast, unable to believe that Cinderella was the one the prince sought. But the proof was undeniable. The slipper fit, and her kind demeanor matched the maiden he had danced with. Overwhelmed with happiness, Cinderella accepted the prince's hand. The revelation of Cinderella as the prince's chosen bride sent ripples throughout the kingdom. From the ashes of her hardship, Cinderella rose, her kindness and resilience leading her to a new life. And thus, the mystery of the glass slipper was solved, uniting Cinderella with her prince as fate had intended. With the mystery of the glass slipper solved, a new chapter began in Cinderella's life. The kingdom rejoiced at the news of the prince finding his true love. Cinderella, once a girl shrouded in cinders and rags, was now the future princess. The royal wedding was a grand affair, celebrated by all. Cinderella, in a gown more beautiful than any she could have dreamed of, radiated happiness. Her heart, once heavy with sorrow, was now light with love and joy. As Cinderella and the prince exchanged vows, the kingdom witnessed a true fairy tale come to life. From this day forward, you shall be my partner, my equal, my love, vowed the prince. Cinderella's eyes shimmered with tears of joy as she replied, "And you, mine." Her stepmother and stepsisters watched, their hearts filled with regret. Cinderella, ever kind, forgave them for their past wrongs. She understood that happiness was found not in revenge, but in forgiveness and moving forward. The kingdom celebrated long into the night, the air filled with music and laughter. Cinderella and the prince danced, their love shining for all to see. Their story was one of hope, a reminder that kindness and courage can overcome even the darkest times. As the stars twinkled above, Cinderella felt grateful for every hardship, for they led her to this moment of bliss. Together with her prince, she looked forward to a future of happiness and peace. And so, Cinderella's story, which began in ashes and sorrow, ended in love and joy. Her journey, a testament to the power of hope and the magic of dreams, was now a tale to be told for generations. And they lived happily ever after.